Hi, Queen. Welcome to Game Hype.
Hey there, Mana. Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Are you at Vietnam at the moment?
I am. I'm currently based in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, here at our headquarters at Sky Mavis.
But because, arranging this talk was a little bit hard, I think you travel a lot, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. It's the last 8 weeks. I think I've been bouncing around a lot. I was recently at NFT NYC as well, back in the States, and then some time in Singapore. So I appreciate the flexibility. I'm pumped we could make this happen.
Yeah. I think it's really great conference to attend. Hope to see you in person next year. So.
Definitely.
Okay, so just to give a brief introduction about you, Quinn is VP of Growth at Sky Mavis, or as some of you may remember better, X Infinity. And also Quinn has experience in hyper casual games as he was a publishing manager at Voodoo. So I think it's really great to have you here today with us because you have experiences in both worlds, and maybe you can connect these two worlds for us and for Game Hype attendees. Whenever you're ready, we can hear your talk.
Definitely. Cool. Well, thanks, Mana. Yeah, really happy to be here with everybody today. As Mana mentioned, I'm a VP of Growth here at Sky Mavis, and we are the developer of Axie Infinity. And what does growth really mean to me? In my head, day to day, it really means four things. It means growing our game through our community, our content creators, our platform, and through user acquisition. And those are like the absolute core pillars of what it means to grow in Web3. And so today I wanted to kick off by really kind of diving into each of those, because that really is the Axie framework for growth, and it's been proven out, and it's really what drove us. But before we dive into that, I think I'll take a step back to just kind of give a brief origin story for everybody, especially given that everyone's really kind of deep into hyper casual right now. So as Mana mentioned, in my prior role, I was a publishing manager at Voodoo for about 2 years, a little under 2 years. And my time in hyper casual, it was awesome. I really loved it. Right. I think what's so cool about being in hyper casual is, you're, especially as a publisher, right? I was covering 40 to 60 studios at any one time, and they're all kind of solo devs and small devs, right? And it is every single one of them. It is their absolute dream to ship a game, right? That's what game devs dream of. And so as a publishing manager, getting to ship these games was the coolest feeling in the world, because each time I shipped a game, I was making somebody's dream come true. And I absolutely loved that. But about 8 or 9 months into my time at Voodoo, I started taking a closer look at all of our publishing contracts. And what I quickly realized was that on every game that we shipped as the publisher, every game that we shipped, we would co-opt the majority of the revenue made off of that game. And the game dev who actually ideated, built, and shipped their game would take home a much smaller percentage of all the revenue on their game. And I was immediately disenchanted with the business model when I saw that. Now, I want to pause. That's not a knock on Voodoo at all. That's how every single publishing model works in Web 2. It's more of an indictment of the traditional Web 2 gaming system. And so as soon as I realized that, I knew there had to be something better out there. And so I started digging, and it was right around that time that I learned about NFT gaming, and I came across Axie Infinity, and specifically I came across Mavis Hub, which is the application that we load Axie Infinity through. And immediately I got it. I saw it. It's this idea of distributing your game directly to your community, taking every middleman out of the system completely. And what you get is this, it's just this immense proliferation of excess value within an ecosystem. So suddenly, as the game dev, since there's no publisher in the middle, we are maintaining a lot more of the value off the game that we create. But what's beautiful about it is when you take that middleman out, there's so much excess value that now suddenly a large portion of that value is able to go back to the gamers themselves, back to the community members themselves. So these community members are now being rewarded in ways that was never, ever possible in a traditional ecosystem where middlemen were co-opting out all of the value. And so by doing this, by changing this up and taking the middleman out, we're really, really shifting the way that community members are able to participate in the value that they help create. Because we truly believe that everybody's time is valuable. This is where the traditional world, Web2 gaming, doesn't quite see it. Everybody's time is valuable, and everybody should participate in the value that they help bring to an ecosystem. And that's what we're trying to enable here. So that was really my shift coming over from traditional gaming into Web3, into NFT gaming. And it's been an absolute blast ever since working at Sky Mavis. I think that Web3 is the most exciting place in the world to be. And it's really defining not just what the future of gaming will be, but what the future of the internet will be as well. And this is where all of the really fun psychological questions, philosophical questions really come into play. Because every day, everybody in the Web3 space, every day we wake up, we're trying to solve problems and challenges that literally have never been solved before. And so that's what makes the space so exciting. So, as I came over to Axie, right, the big goal here was to really not only just grow the game and grow the ecosystem, but to start to define how we do it. And that's how we came up with this Axie growth framework that I just mentioned, right? So I want to circle back to that. And I think it makes sense to deep dive some of these pillars. As we think about growth here, there are really 4 pillars to it. Like I said, it's our community, it's our content creators, it's platform, and it's user acquisition. And we've actually had some really big wins on all 4 of those fronts recently. Let's start on the community side, right? I'll use Axie as an example. We recently shipped our Lunasian Codes program. Now, Lunasian Codes is actually the first of its kind Web3 referral program. So everybody's aware of referral programs for sure. But in Web3, we've done this differently now, where we actually store all codes, all payouts, all referral rewards on chain. So when you go and sign up for a new referral code, your code is stored directly in our marketplace smart contract, which allows for completely automated payouts the second somebody uses your code to purchase an asset. This has been huge, right? It's been another unlock for our community. We had over 3,000 code registrations in the first 7 days alone. Now, why is it so important to us that we do this? Because, your community in Web3 has a multiples order of magnitude higher K factor than any community member in a Web2 product, right? What I mean by that is that anybody we onboard into our space is an order of magnitude more likely to then go onboard their friends and family than they are in the traditional space. And so because community is such a powerful growth distribution channel for us, we are consistently doing what we can to incentivize and unlock the community to go have an even higher K factor. So things like referral programs are a really important way to kind of make that happen. Now, why are they so likely to onboard their friends and family in Web3? It's a super interesting question. And the reason why is because they're actually co-owners of our network, right? Any community member who holds AXS, our token, or who holds an Axie NFT, the value of their asset is directly related to the value created by our network, by Axie Infinity, by our ecosystem. So in a sense, they truly are co-owners of our product. I mean, you could make a really simple example. If you were to be a co-owner of a restaurant down the street from you, you would be an order of magnitude more likely to tell your friends to go to that restaurant. You yourself would eat at that restaurant more often than you would at a normal restaurant. You would probably go ahead and throw some social event at that restaurant without getting permission first. Why? Because you're a part owner. You don't need to get permission first. So that simple unlock is exactly what we're seeing in our ecosystem. It's why everybody wants to tell everyone else to join, and that's powerful. So as you think about growing your community, growing via your community in Web3, you just want to be consistently finding ways to just provide these little unlocks for them, like a referral program, right? So the second really big pillar for us as content creators, the content creator distribution channel is just so important in all of Web3. And for us, it's our goal to completely dominate that distribution channel, right? And how do we do it? It's through this Axie creator program that we recently shipped about 1 month ago. It's been a massive hit. I would encourage everybody to check out our Substack, axie.substack.com. There's a great article outlining our thoughts on it. Now, it took me 8 months to structure out this program. And the reason why is because how do you define what a creator is? If you ask yourself, what is a content creator in Web3? It's a very difficult question to answer. In Web2, when someone says, what is a content creator? It's easy. It's a YouTuber, right? It's a Twitch streamer. It's very straightforward what a content creator is and what a content creator isn't. In Web3, because people are co-owners, of the network, they start to create for your ecosystem in ways you never would have guessed before. For instance, we have community tooling developers. People make tools that some of which I actually use every single day as part of my role. This was a community member who created it for free, didn't ask for anything. He used our open source, open state ecosystem because we're Web3 to build something that the community now heavily relies on. Is he a content creator? Absolutely. Right? We also have people who are doing translation work, localization work for free, just because they hold AXS. So their work indirectly helps the value of AXS go up. Are they a content creator? They most certainly are. But in the Web 2 world, they would probably be ignored by a game dev. Right? So it became this really, really important exercise of defining what a content creator is, what a contributor is, and then creating a program that incentivizes and just puts hugs around all of them. And that's what we were able to do. And it's actually been a huge hit. It launched about 4 weeks ago. We now have a creator CRM of over 400 content creators. And I guarantee you that is the single largest Web3 content creator database in the world right now. It's been so powerful to have this program in place. So as you think about growing your project, content creators has to be top of your list. It's a heavy, heavy distribution channel. So the third pillar for us is our platform, right? The fun thing about building a Web3 project is more often than not, you're actually building a platform that others can build on top of. If someone else builds a project on top of your project, all distribution that they do for their project also boosts your project. You get users for free. For instance, at one point in our growth cycle, when our DAU was closer to about 3 million, 60% of all of our users were scholars. They belong to guilds. What that means is that the guilds were ecosystem projects in the Axie space. The guilds had gone out and advertised, searched for, onboarded, and educated these users. We didn't do anything to bring them in, but we were able to benefit because we built a platform that was easy for guilds to build on top of ours, right? Another program we just launched is called the Axie Builders Program, where we've invited 12 really badass amateur game devs to build on top of our blockchain and to use Axie IP to create like lightweight games. There's a couple of hyper casual games on there. One of them even is a studio that I had worked with at Voodoo, actually, independently of me. They came and joined this program, right? So as these games ship, even though they're third party, even though they're ecosystem projects, as they succeed, we'll succeed, right? So finding ways to consistently optimize your ecosystem so that your ecosystem projects can be onboarded and easily build, easily ship, easily succeed is a supercharged growth channel for us, right? The last one here is actually user acquisition. This is nothing new. This is performance marketing. This is a proven Web 2 growth channel. We've been the first to really experiment with it in Web 3, and the results are actually looking really promising so far. So for example, we're doing testing in Southeast Asia and in the US. We're currently showing ads on Facebook, on Google, on Reddit. Right now, CPAs in Southeast Asia are below $1, which is incredible. CPAs in the US, Google actually just came back at $1.70. Now, I know those don't sound great in hyper casual terms, but keep in mind that this is very much not a hyper casual game, and there's all of this really tough time with onboarding when it comes to an NFT game. So to be getting CPAs at that scale for us is a massive, massive green sign. On top of that as well, LTVs in an NFT game are significantly higher than a traditional game as well. You end up with very high LTV users. So all of this is looking really, really promising so far. So that's really how we think about growth in Web3. Mana, I've got a couple other points here, especially how to grow an early stage. Does it make sense for me to jump into those now?
I have some questions, but let me just ask them at the end.
Okay, cool. So, I see a lot of new projects these days. New NFT gaming projects are popping up almost every day, right? It's a very hot space right now. And I think there's a lot of key things to remember, especially in the early days. When you're thinking about growth, right at the earliest point, right when you're shipping your product, right when you have some assets for sale, there's two things that worked really well for Axie. It was social capital partnerships and vampire attacks, right? So what do I mean by those? Social capital partnerships. In Web3, you're selling assets. So onboarding someone into your ecosystem requires a level of trust that is completely non-existent in Web 2. If you want somebody to purchase an asset and then to become a co-owner of your network, they have to truly trust you. Now, what we found to be a powerful way for gaining that trust is gaining that social capital through partnerships. So as you're thinking about partnerships, marketing and growth and product partnerships in the early days of your journey, you should be very strict about only partnering with other projects that you feel have higher social capital than you do. So by making that partnership happen, other people in the market, your potential users and potential co-owners, will see your social capital raised up in that process, because this higher social capital entity they have trust for. And so they believe that partnership will help, raise your social capital as well. So this was something that was key for us in our early days. I definitely recommend new projects to keep that in mind. Social capital partnerships. The other one I mentioned is vampire attacks. This is really powerful in our world, right? I'll give an example here. When we were shipping our land gameplay, we didn't necessarily have anybody, or not our land gameplay, but our land assets. We didn't necessarily have anyone in our ecosystem that was going to be into or interested in land assets. So what we did was this was a long time ago, we found the Decentraland Discord server. I'm sure everybody knows Decentraland. It's this kind of metaversal digital world, virtual world, where most of the experience occurs on this actual map, and the map is kind of commoditized up into NFT land plots. Well, we knew that everybody in the Decentraland server has an interest in holding land NFTs. So we entered the Decentraland server. We went to the general chat. We started making a big deal, kind of talking about Axie Infinity. At the time, we didn't have any land NFTs. So nobody who worked for Decentraland saw that as a red flag. They allowed it to continue happening. We started telling everybody, hey, anybody who's in this community, you should come check out Axie. If you're interested, anyone who comes over from Decentraland over the next 2 weeks, we'll give you 3 free Axies, 3 free NFT Axies to start playing with. Cool. We got a whole bunch of people over. What nobody knew was that 2 weeks after that, we were launching our land NFT sale for the first time. We were able to vampire away a whole bunch of Decentraland users, get them locked into our land sale. Many of them have actually become some of our most badass, most OG community members. This was from a couple of years ago. To this day, they're still with us. So thinking about vampire attack and growth hacks in your early days is super, super key. There's all kinds of opportunities out there as well.
Thank you.
So those 2 things are, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. I thought it was over.
Oh, all good. All good. I think I have a couple more kind of random points here. Should I jump into those as well?
Yeah. Let's go with them.
Okay. You can probably just kind of edit all of this as you see fit too. So
okay.
The order is fine. Cool.
So before you start, I just want to ask you, because as you mentioned, this is a whole new technology, and everything is kind of new because it's in kind of its early stage. And you mentioned very positive points, but also I think there are some challenges in these fields. So maybe because, for example, I think it happened to your project because, your project is among the top projects in this world at the moment, but I think it also happened to yours, the hack that I'm talking about. So what do you think the challenges are, and how we should overcome these challenges?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of challenges in the NFT gaming space, right? I mean, obviously the hack was a major incident for us. Security is super, super important, and helping educate your users to make sure that they're not getting taken advantage of either is also important. Because every day we have users who unfortunately fall for simple hacks on their own end. 100% of the time, it tends to be user error, right? But I think that's part of Web3 because it's so new. People aren't yet quite comfortable with using it, and so they're more susceptible to that kind of thing, right? I think another big issue, and this is really key for anybody getting into the space, is how to build a sustainable economy into your NFT game, right? And we've really been through this cycle. So what a lot of games when they launch today, they're focusing on this whole, let's call it X to earn, right? Play to earn, move to earn with step in, right? Verb to earn, fill in the blank. And what you end up when you do this is you end up building a unsustainable economic model. And we've seen this with SLP, which is our earning token in our ecosystem, right? SLP is an unlimited token, and the value of it has crashed out due to massive inflation, just because of really it was kind of an unsustainable model from the start. Now, the reason that this happens is as you build a project that's really significantly focused on earning capability, you end up attracting mostly users to your ecosystem who are extractors. Now, these extractive users are only showing up. They're not showing up to enjoy the product or to be a part of your community. They're only showing up to earn. And as soon as they pull their earning tokens, as soon as they win their earning tokens, they're going to immediately extract them out of the ecosystem, go to an exchange them for fiat, for USDC or something like that, and pull the value out completely. What happens there is that as they exchange it, the sheer number of tokens goes up and up and up, which leads to the value inflating, and you're left with what happened with SLP. If you build a project that is entirely centered around this earning model, that's what happens. You can think about them like low LTV users. They're users who you really don't want to be focused on extracting in terms of having a sustainable economic long-term model. Now, I see this a lot. I read a lot of white papers from new projects, right? Almost every single day. You can immediately tell which ones are going to face that and which ones aren't, right? In the first page, projects will be touting their earning capabilities. Go read the Axie white paper. Don't do that. We didn't even actually build it for earning capabilities. It was actually the community themselves who figured out how to extract the value and create this earning model, right? When I read white papers from projects that I can tell are building something sustainable, they're talking about their product first. They're talking about how fun their game is, how sticky the mechanics are, just like traditional gaming. And then guess what? On page 12, the earning mechanics are a cherry on top. That is how you build a true winning product. Otherwise, you're just building something that won't be sustainable. Now, what's important to remember here, though, is these earning mechanics, they do offer this really incredible growth hack, right? That's what happened with Axie in the first year. That's what happened with Step-In over the last 6 months. This earning mechanic makes this growth hack where you get millions of DAU almost instantly. And it can be a really powerful route to go down. And I wouldn't dissuade people from trying it. But what I will say is that before you press go on that growth hack, you absolutely have to have your strategy in place for how you're going to transition into something more sustainable after that, right? There are different ways to do it, but the way that we're really focusing on is by giving more sinks in game, more things to spend the currency on in game, right? Because we know gamers want to spend. Gamers spend in Web 2 all the time with no hopes on return whatsoever. They're spending for fun and for flex and reasons like that. We're building that into Axie. The other one too is now we're focusing on attracting value additive users. We don't want to attract users who are purely extracted from the ecosystem anymore. So you have to have that transitional strategy in place before you press go on your growth hack.
Yeah, interesting. So I think that's one of the things that makes it really hard to have a kind of blockchain game or Web3 project, because it's a kind of economy that you should manage, and all the concepts of economy applies in this field too.
We're literally trying to manage a real world economy, just like monetary policy and fiscal policy in an actual country. It's extremely difficult.
Yeah. So despite all these difficulties, how do you think game developers, especially hyper casual game developers, should enter this field? Also, because, for example, when we're talking about mid-core games, I think it's kind of makes more sense, mid-core or hardcore, it makes more sense that these games become kind of blockchain games, play-to-earn games, play and earn games. But in hyper-casual, it's a kind of different because the games have a short life, the LTV is higher, lower. So how do you think this can happen? And do you think it even makes sense for hyper casual games?
Yeah, I do. I think it makes sense in a slightly different way, right? And let's take a step back there first. There's actually been this entire head fake with the industry where everyone has gotten so focused on the earning mechanics and the earning token, right? So that's play to earn and SLP for Axie Infinity, for instance, right? But that's actually not where the true power of NFT gaming sits. The true power of NFT gaming sits in the governance tokens and the DAO models, right? DAOs are decentralized autonomous organizations. So let's take a second to really look at that. Axie Infinity, the game. I work for Sky Mavis. Sky Mavis is a game developer. Right now, we are the main developer on Axie Infinity. We don't own Axie Infinity. Axie Infinity, the game, is owned by Axie Infinity DAO. Now, Axie Infinity DAO belongs to all AXS token holders, right? So anybody right now, Mana, you could go on Binance, you could purchase one AXS, and just like that, you are a co-owner of Axie Infinity, right? That is so powerful because that token, in a sense, represents control over the Axie community treasury. All revenue generated by Axie Infinity goes to the Axie community treasury, which is owned by AXS token holders, not Sky Mavis. Sky Mavis is just another AXS token holder. Now, why is that so powerful? Because it means that every player and community member in Axie Infinity is participating in the value of this co-owned game through the tokens that they hold. That is the true power of NFT gaming. That's what makes it so different. We'll see how long this whole earning mechanic is actually able to hang on for. But the true value sits in having DAO-owned games. And NFTs are the same way. NFTs represent co-ownership of a game. So when it comes to hyper casual, right? My view on how hyper casual will end up going Web3 is more through owning portfolios of games, right? I don't see a specific hyper casual game fitting into a DAO model. I'm not sure a specific hyper casual game will fit into an earning mechanics model, but I could see one DAO, being focused on owning and creating a portfolio of hyper casual games. Then you end up where the system of a massive number of gamers are all holding governance tokens in your DAO and all starting to profit off of and participating in the value creation of your portfolio of hyper casual games. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I think it kind of makes sense. And do you think what will happen in kind of this bear market? How do you see the trend and how do you think it will go on?
The bear market is the absolute best time to build. Bull markets are the wrong time to get in. It's when the market's already peaking. It's kind of like buying at the top. Also, the energy in a bull market is entirely too frenetic. During a bull market, every morning when you wake up, you already feel like you're behind. During a bear market, there's a lot more patience to actually put your head down and to actually build. So this is a builder's market, right? What we saw, think about it this way. What we just saw in this most recent bear market was just like what we saw in 1999 and 2000 with the internet tech bubble, right? All of the FANG companies, just about all the FANG companies, except maybe Amazon, all came after that tech bubble. They grew out of the bust that occurred following that tech bubble. I'm almost thankful we moved past this last bull market because this is now going to be the defining bear market. All of the biggest advances in the NFT gaming space and Web3 are going to come out of right now, this bear market that we're in.
Yeah, I think it's kind of something that ensures the health of the whole industry.
Totally.
Yeah. So it was really interesting. And the thing that you mentioned, I think there were many insights. And I'm sure that I will go over back and hear the whole talk once again. So thank you so much. And do you want to add anything else?
I don't think so, Mana. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thank you so much. So thank you for your time. And I hope that we see more success from Axie Infinity in the future.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
خب سلام دوباره. سلام. ما الان Q&A رو با کوین خواهیم داشت و از ایمان هم دعوت کردیم که توی این Q&A به ما بپیونده. ایمان تو هستی؟
سلام. آره هستم. صدا میاد؟
بله ایمان طاهب دیروز توی پنل فرصت و چالش های توسعه دهندگان ایرانی هم با ما بود. برای کسانی که دیروز نبودن، ایمان پابلیشینگ منیجر استورم هست و ایمان خب توی موضوع بلاکچین گیمینگ هم تخصص داره و ازش خواهش کردیم بیاد یکم توی این بحثا به ما کمک کنه بتونیم کوین رو خوب به چالش بکشیم. حالا ایمان تا نیومده یکم چیز از این دوبلهه بگو ببینم کجاش به نظرت لازمه که یکم به بچه‌ها توضیح بدیم. خیلی بعضی جا خود من اینجوری بودم که چی گفت نفهمیدم چی گفت واقعا.
کنه گفت ژتون. آره در کل حالا دیگه کاریه که دستتون برمیومده. به نظرم اگه بتونین قبل از ترجمه‌اش هم با بچه‌ها شیر کنین، حالا اون که دوست داشتن.
من میدونی یکم چیز بود، فشرده بود، چون مثلا هماهنگی با این آدما بعد ترجمه گرفتن دوبله کردن اینا مثلا بعضی‌هاش
طبیعیه گلنار، چون بالاخره یه سری ترمای تخصصی اون نظر استفاده می‌کنن که مترجم لزوما نمیدونه ترجمه درستش.
آره حالا اینا رو دوباره ادیت می‌کنیم برای بچه‌ها اگه که شنیدن و بعضی جاهاشو ممکنه نفهمیده باشن، اینا رو دوباره یه دور ادیت می‌کنیم، فارسیاشو می‌ذاریم تو آپارات، انگلیسیاشو می‌ذاریم تو یوتیوب که هر کی که هر جوری دوست داره بشنوه. حالا به نظرم تو خودت اگه چیزی نکته الان داری تا کوینم بیاد اضافه بشه از تجربه خودت از بلاکچین یکم برامون بگو تا بعد کوینم بیاد و ادامه بحث رو هم بگیم.
حتما. فقط من سوال بکنم چون همین الان مانا از من خواست که جوین بشم. من سوالا رو از کوین بپرسم خودم ترجمه کنم.
ما لایویم ایمان اگه نمیدونی گفتم یه وقت همش رو
نگیم. نه با هم بگو ترجمه هر سوال بکنم دیگه بعد از هر سوال.
یه بار دیگه میگی؟ نه متوجه.
سوالی که از کوین میپرسم بعدش به فارسی هم یه بار ترجمه کنم.
آره چرا که نه.
باشه. تجربه خودم. آره استورمز، حالا برای اونایی که نمیدونن در کل وقتی من جوین شدم بیزینس هایپر کژوال داشتن و من به عنوان پرودوسر اول جوین شدم و حالا بعدش شدم هد پابلیشینگ و استودیو. تو اون مدت خب هایپر کژوال کار میکردیم، با حتی خیلی از استودیوهای داخل از ایران هم کار کردیم و اخیراً استورمز خریده شد، اکوایر شد با یک کمپانی استرالیایی و از اون تایم به بعد ما درست پیوت کردیم توی وب 3 گیمینگ و بلاکچین گیمینگ و اینا. الان داریم روی 2 تا پروژه، یکیش پلتفرمه، یکیش گیم وب 3 و مشغولیم. حالا حوزه خیلی جدیدیه، نمیتونم بگیم که همه اکسپرت های این حوزه خودشون اکسپرت های 6 ماه یه سالن، ولی داریم حالا کار میکنیم.
آره سوالم همین بود که چند وقته که وارد شدی؟ همون 3 ماه 6 ماه؟
تقریبا از اول امسال. خودم خیلی همیشه بالاخره حوزه جزایی بوده. ما حتی 3-4 سال پیش هم که شرکت خودمون رو داشتیم ایم پلی، اون زمان حتی یادم ما یه بلاکچینی ران کردیم، یه فکرایی داشتیم، ولی خب یه حوزه میره بالا پایین دیگه. بول مارکت میشه، همه خیلی میخوان جوین شن، بر مارکت میشه، فقط اونایی که خیلی پوستشون کلفته میمونن.
آره همین الان چیزی تغییری توی مارکت تو احساس کردی این افتی که حالا توی نمیدونم
ببین آره، ولی منم فکر کنم همه حالا کسایی که توی این حوزه دارن جدی کار میکنن موافقن که این بر مارکتی که پیش اومده درست یه نعمتیه برای خودش، برای کسایی که حالا بیشتر توجه میکنن به اون ولیو ارزش که قراره واقعا بلاکچین بیاره برای حالا هر حوزه مثل گیم
گرفته.
آره چون توی بول مارکت خیلی نویز وجود داره، خیلی سر و صدای بیخود هست، خیلی نیت‌های غیر شفاف وجود داره، خیلی فقط دنبال گینای شورت ترم و کوتاه مدتن و توی این همه نویز واقعا تمرکز روی این که حالا من بیام یه پروداکت خوب بسازم یا ارزش خوب خلق بکنم واقعا سخت. همه اقفال هی میشن توی یه بول مارکت که برن دنبال ارزش‌های واهی. ولی از این جهت یه نعمتیه. حالا ما سرمون انداختیم پایین داریم کار میکنیم.
حالا از اون تجربه‌ای که شما توی استورم توی پابلیشینگ بازی هایپر کژوال داشتین و با این هدفی که توی بلاکچین گیمینگ بر خودتون گذاشتین، چه یعنی با این تجربه اخیرتون چه هدفی برای خودتون متصورین مثلا توی 1 سال آینده؟
ببین
یعنی
حالا من چون
هدفتون چه؟ حالا هر چقدرشو میخوای شیر کنی.
آره چون نه من ایونت رو چون استورمز رو ریپرزنت نمی کنم تو این ایونت، خیلی ایندیویدوال حالا اون پنل رو شرکت کردم، خیلی شاید نمیدونم اصلا باید صحبت بکنم یا نه. ولی خب
سوالم اینجوریه که اونی که داره تو هایپر کژوال کار میکنه بیشتر تو میخوای این شکلی جوابش بده. اونم اضافه شد. Hello
Hello
Quinn.
there. I'm sorry that I'm late. I apologize.
No problem. This is Golnar from Game Hype. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi there, Golnar.
Thank you so much. I'm Mana's colleague. You've been talking with Mana before, and we are having Iman here from Storm Publishing. You know each other.
I do. Hey there, Iman. How are you, man?
Hey, man. Very good. How are you? You look surprised.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah.
I think, Quinn, we did reschedule the invitation for 15 minutes. Maybe it's been a reason that you didn't been online.
I missed that. I apologize.
No. It's been our fault. So no problem. So you're now in Vietnam, right?
That's right. Based in Ho Chi Minh City. I'm here in the headquarters of Sky Mavis.
Okay, great. So thanks for joining us. It's a pleasure having you here. So we asked Iman to join this Q&A because he's working in this field and he can help us to bring more questions. And because Mana is today a bit sick, hope it's not COVID. And so we're going to have this Q&A with Iman's help and also other participants' questions. So, Iman, can you ask some questions that we already have in chat?
Of course. How are you, Quinn, by the way? Mana literally asked me 5 minutes ago to join in the Q&A. Everything fine?
Everything's good, man. How's everything on your end?
It's great. We're also in Web3 now. But we need to hang out. We're in the same city now.
Are you in Ho Chi Minh City?
Of course.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. All right, let me go to the Q&A questions. They sent me some questions that I'm going to ask you. Starting with the first one. Do you think Web3 gaming is going to take over, or is it going to remain a niche?
Web3 gaming is absolutely going to take over, right? Niche is so far from what the victory case looks like here. Look, ultimately, at the end of the day, 25, 30 years from now, when I have kids that are older, I grew up playing a lot of time playing Call of Duty, right? Probably a little bit too much time playing Call of Duty. My kids are going to look at me and they're going to be like, wait a second, Dad, you put 10,000 hours into a game where you didn't actually own any of the assets that you used in that game. And it's just not going to compute with them, right? Like, it's going to be like how I look at my grandma and I'm like, wait a second, Grandma, you were allowed to smoke on flights when you were growing up? Like, it's just one of those generational shift things. Because ultimately, we're not going to want to put all this time into games where we don't have ownership at the end of the day. Now, this whole X to earn or play and earn concept, that is in flux. That may move in, that may move out. Sustainable economies will be what wins out. But the ultimate model of owning your assets in game will absolutely take over everything.
Okay, so yes to owning assets and maybe to play and earn, play to earn, these kind of concepts, right?
Definitely yes to owning assets, yes to player-owned economies, for sure.
All right. So give me a minute to also translate in Farsi for
Sure.
the audience. من پرسیدم از کوین که به نظرت وب 3 گیمینگ قراره که بازار رو تسخیر بکنه و بشه آینده بازار، یا اینکه یه قسمت کوچیک از بازار باقی میمونه. که کوین جواب داد که قطعا اعتقاد داره که آینده گیمینگ وب 3 گیمینگه و بیشتر اعتقاد، حالا من خلاصش رو میگم دیگه کلمه به کلمه چیز نمیکنم، و بیشتر به اون قسمتی که پلیرها حق اینو داشته باشن که بتونن اسست هاشون و آیتم های داخل بازیشون رو واقعا صاحب باشن به واسطه تکنولوژی بلاکچین. روی این خیلی مطمئنه که آینده تو آینده گیم این قضیه خیلی پررنگ خواهد بود، ولی یه سری مدل‌ها مثل play to earn, play and earn و اینجور چیزا که الان وجود داره، این حالا ممکنه باشه ممکنه نباشه توی این شکل. البته خب کوین اونایی هم که نمیدونن خودش تقریبا توی بزرگترین بازی بلاکچینی که وجود داره الان اکسی اینفینیتیه و اگر این الان حمایت نکنه کی دیگه واقعا باید حمایت بکنه. Okay, let's get to the second question. In your opinion, what is the single most important value that Web3 or blockchain is bringing to the gaming?
It is it's absolutely one thing. It's that everybody's time is valuable and everybody should participate in the value that they help create. This is the biggest difference between Web 2 and Web 3. In Web 2, when you participate in an ecosystem, just by showing up and playing in that game, you're adding player liquidity at different levels, right? You're creating somebody, you're queuing in PvP. You're telling your friends about the game and getting more people to join the ecosystem. Just by participating, you're adding value. But in Web 2, you don't participate in any of that value that's created. It's all captured by the publishers and by the game devs and by the entire ecosystem. In Web 3, you get to participate in that value by holding tokens within the game, by holding governance tokens that drive the decentralized economy that you're a part owner of. In Web 3, by removing a lot of the middlemen from the ecosystem, we're able to create this entire excess pool of value, some of which goes to the game devs and some of which goes back to the community that they didn't get in Web 2.
Thanks. من از کوین پرسیدم که به نظرت مهمترین ارزشی که وب 3 و بلاکچین برای صنعت بازیسازی داره چیه؟ و کوین هم جواب داد که اعتقاد کوین اینه که وقت همه با ارزشه و وقتی که بازیکنان میذارن برای اینکه بازی بکنن هم با ارزشه و یه ارزشی در اصل داره خلق میشه که این تا الان تو انحصار یه سری افراد مثل بازیسازا و حالا اپستورها و اینجور چیزا بوده. فکر میکنه یعنی کوین اعتقاد داره که با حذف میدلمن یا واسط که حالا همون پلتفرم‌ها شاید اپستورها و اینجور چیزا باشن، خود بازیکن‌ها و کامیونیتی هم میتونن توی این ارزشی که در اصل اون تایمه داره به وجود میاره، یعنی تایمی که این همه بازیکن در روز میذارن بازی میکنن، یه ارزش مادی هم در کنار ارزش معنویش داره که به واسطه تکنولوژی وب 3 میتونن بازیکن‌ها هم تو اون ارزش و نفع بردن از اون ارزش شریک بشن.
A quick question here. Someone is asking about short explanation of Web3 gaming, if it's...
Of course, I leave it to Quinn to answer that.
Definitely. It goes back to what I just said. Web3 ultimately it's blockchain-based gaming in terms of the technologies that enable it. But really the vision of it is having a game that is open and player owned. So the assets in the gameplay can be actually owned by players. The economy itself is an open economy where your tokens in game are also cryptocurrency tokens that can be taken in and out of the gameplay itself.
Sure. کوین تعریف وب3 رو میگه که از زاویه تکنولوژی اگر بخوایم نگاه بکنیم، بازیایی که از تکنولوژی بلاکچین استفاده میکنن با بازی وب3 محسوب میشن. بلاکچین هم که حالا دیگه اگه نمیدونین اون دیگه برین بخونین. علاوه ویژن وب3 گیمینگ دقیقا همون چیزی که حالا تو سال قبلم توضیح داد، یعنی قراره که اونرشیپ و مالکیت حق مالکیت رو به وجود بیاره برای بازیکن‌ها. یعنی حالا چه از طریق NFT بتونن آیتم‌های داخل باشه، یعنی شما فرض بکنید بتونین کاراکترتون رو یا اسکین اسلحه‌تون رو توی بازی واقعا صاحبش باشین، نه اینکه داخل بازی ولی واقعا خارج از بازی هم صاحبش باشین، بتونین آزادانه هر کار خواستین باش بکنین، بفروشین، ترید کنین یا چیزایی دیگه. و حالا یه خصیصه دیگه هم که داره اینه که بعضن اکانومی و اقتصادهای بازی رو داره در اپوزیت و مقابل اکانومی که الان بازی‌های وب 2 دارن که یه اکانومی بسته است و حالا شما میتونید بری خرید بکنید و پولش میرسه به دیولپر. ولی توی دیزاین اقتصاد بازی‌های وب 2 یه مقدار متفاوته. کامیونیتی بازیکن و اینوستور گاهی خیلی بازیکن‌های مختلفی توی این اقتصاد بازی وب 3 شریکن، فقط دیولپر نیست که نفع میبره. All right, let's get to the next question. Are you doing paid UA for Axie right now? If yes, what are the top channels and like what is the CPI roughly?
We definitely are. We're solving UA in Web3. I'm convinced we're further along than anyone else is because it's so tough. It's so hard, right? In Web 2, it's really simple because you just have to really integrate one MMP like AppsFlyer and just run mobile ads, drive them to the App Store, and bingo, you're good to go. In Web 3, it could not be more difficult because there's so much different data across so many different platforms, right? We have mobile, and mobile is not live in App Store, so we're downloading through weird landing pages. We have desktop, right? We have blockchain data. We have web-based marketplace data. The list goes on. And so it's an absolute mess to build some type of consolidated Web3 UA machine, but we're on it, and we're pretty damn close. So we have started running campaigns already. We've got performance running now in Southeast Asia and in the US, and we're live on Reddit, Google, and Facebook. We're seeing strong performance on all three. I think probably our highest LTV users right now are looking like Reddit, but our lowest CPA channel is Google. We just clocked in at $1.30 on Google in the US for a desktop casual card battler built on a blockchain. Right? If you're thinking in terms of hyper casual, $1.30 may not sound like much, but when you're thinking about what we're selling, it's an incredible CPA. And I think it's just because there's not a lot of competition in this space right now. There's not a lot of NFT games trying to run performance campaigns.
Thanks. It is the first time, by the way, I'm doing some kind of live translation, so it's
You're doing great,
a challenge for myself as well. So all right, I'm trying to translate. من از کوین پرسیدم که آیا دارین شما یوزر اکوزیشن یعنی جذب کاربر پولی هم انجام میدین؟ چون این یه متدیه که خب توی بازی‌های هایپر کژوال یا بازی‌های وب 2 خیلی رایجه، ولی تو وب 3 خیلی توش هنوز وارد نشدن. و ازش پرسیدم خب اگه این کارو میکنین راجع به کانال‌های تبلیغاتی و راجع به اینکه چه CPI میگیرید و اینا هم یه مقدار به اون اطلاعات بده، که جواب کوین این بود که آره، اصلا فکر میکنم یکی از ارزش‌هایی که کوین وارد کرده به اکسی اینفینیتی همین دانشش توی این حوزه باشه و کمکی که تونسته بکنه. فکر میکنه که خیلی سخته، خیلی سخت‌تر از وب 2 جذب یوزر پولی توی وب 3 و فکر میکنه که خیلی تا الان خیلی جلو هم نسبت به بقیه بازی‌های وب 3 افورت‌ها و کارهایی که تا الان انجام دادن. توضیح داد که شروع کردن الان با توی آمریکا و فکر میکنم اگه اشتباه نکنم گفت آسیای
ساوث آسیا
جنوب شرقی توی کانالای ردیت، گوگل و فیسبوک پایین ترین CPA که تونستن بگیرن که همون اکشن CPA میشه کاست پر اکشن، یعنی اینجا فکر کنم همون اینستال باشه یا جوین شدن حالا مثلا تو پلتفرمشون، $1.30 بوده که توی کانال گوگل تونستن اینو بگیرن که این حالا شاید اونایی که هایپر کژوال کار کردن این خیلی عدد بالایی باشه ولی
ایمان
نه از اینم توضیح داد که کوین خیلی رقم اتفاقا فوق العاده ایه چون بازیمون هایپر کژوال نیست دیگه. بازی اصلا اگر وب 3 هم بگیم نباشه، برای یه بازی کارت گیم، یه بازی کارتیه حالا مثلا مید کورتر عدد بدی نیست $1.30 توی آمریکا و فکر میکنه که و خب اینم باید در نظر بگیریم که فکر کنم تو تاکش هم کوین توضیح داد که LTV یه همچین بازی مثل اکس اینفینیتی خب خیلی بالاتر از یه بازی هایپر کژوال، برای همین $1.30 خیلی عدد خوبیه و فکر میکنه که دلیلی که تونستن این رقم رو بهش برسن کم بودن کامپتیشن توی بازار، یعنی رقابت. هنوز خیلی شروع نکردن بازی‌های وب 3 جذب یوزر پولی انجام بدن، برای همین اونایی که خب اول وارد میشن مثل کوین و تیمش تونستن به نتیجه خوب و قابل قبولی برسن. Alright, let's get to the next question. Could you apply much of your Web 2 and hyper-casual experience now in Web 3?
Yeah, sure. Well, generally gaming is gaming, always, no matter what genre you're building in or if it's on blockchain or not. And I think that's been a really big learning for the space as a whole, because you saw this bull market run up and it got to a point where so many new games were coming out and a lot of them were overly focused on earning mechanics, right? We even saw some games that were essentially just DeFi protocols wrapped in gaming wrappers. And a lot of them didn't necessarily make it. And it really pushes us back to our roots in gaming, which is that games should be fun first and foremost. Games should be sticky because they have fun mechanics before anything else. And that doesn't change in Web3. And so I think that's a big learning coming out of there.
Got it. من از کوین پرسیدم که آیا تونسته از تجربیاتی که حالا توی وب 2 گیمینگ، تو بازیسازی وب 2 و تجربهش توی هایپر کژوال، توی وودو هم پابلشینگ منیجر بوده. کوین که من از اون موقع میشناسمش. پرسیدم که آیا تونستی از اون تجربیات استفاده بکنی الان که توی اکسی هستی و توی وب 3، که جواب داد آره، بالاخره گیمینگ همیشه و این تجربه‌ای که تونسته بود به دست بیاره که خب بازی باید فان باشه، باید استیکی باشه و اینکه خب حالا کسایی که هایپر کژوال کار میکنن خیلی معمولا روی کور مکانیک ها اینا کار میکنن. قطعا حالا جواب کوتاهی داد، اینی که بازی باید فان باشه همون تجربه رو هم آورده توی وب 3 داره استفاده میکنه. Next question. Do you think we are going to see AAA blockchain games this year that can attract traditional gamers?
This year, I don't think we're going to see any major Web 2 AAA studios getting into Web 3. I don't think that those moves will happen during the bear market. But I think that the major winning projects of the next 5, 10, and 15 years are all going to come out of this exact bear market. Right? If you look at if you look at what happened in tech, most of the biggest winners in tech came out of 08, 09, 2010, or 2001, 2002, 2003. And that was post housing market crash, and even bigger in the tech world, post tech bubble. And so what we're seeing right now is this just great consolidation where we're all coming out of this frenetic bull market where nobody can actually build. Now there's a shakeout, and the people who are left are able to actually put their heads down and create. All of the winning projects will come out of this moment.
I completely agree with you on that. And I kind of think, though, Web3 already had a lot of time to reach to a mature level. So I'm really thinking, if it cannot make it in this bear market, then it's gonna get very difficult for it. That's my personal opinion. But like you said, I think in this bear market, a lot of teams are gonna great.
Yeah, absolutely.
من از کوین پرسیدم که فکر میکنی که توی امسال آیا قراره که بازی‌های تریپل ای ببینیم وب3 قطعا که بتونن گیمرهای سنتی تر را هم جذب بکنن؟ چون حالا این سوال منشأش اینجا میاد که الان معمولا بازیکن‌های بازی وب 3 یه جوری جداان، همون بازیکن‌هایی که مثلا کال آف دیوتی بازی می‌کنن نمیرن وب 3 بازی بکنن، یه کامیونیتی خودشونن تا یه حدی کوچیکن و خیلی سوال برانگیزه که کدوم بازی‌ها میتونن واقعا برن اون یوزرهای که آردی گیمرن تو بازی‌های سنتی تر رو بیارن توی بازی وب 3. جوابی که کوین داد چی بود؟ کجا نوشتم؟ گفتش که آره امسال ممکنه نیاد چون خیلی شاید نمونده باشه به آخر سال، ولی مطمئنه که توی این بر مارکت دقیقاً همون تایمیه که خیلی تیمای خوب میتونن تمرکز کنن و پروداکت‌های خوب بسازن. بعد از اینکه این بر مارکت تموم بشه احتمالاً ما نتیجه تلاش‌های این تیم‌ها رو می‌بینیم که یه سری بازی خوبه و اونم دقیقاً مثل ما اعتقاد داره که این بر مارکت قراره که اون تیمای ضعیف‌تر رو همه رو میتکونه به قولی و از بازار به درشون میکنه. اونایی که میمونن قطعا میتونن تیمای قوی تری باشن. یه مثال هم زد، میگفتش که توی تک مارکت دقیقا همین اتفاق افتاد. حالا سالهای گذشته هم 2000 چند بوده که دقیقا از همین بازاری که بر مارکتی که به وجود اومده بود تو اون سالا، شرکت هایی که الان خیلی بزرگ شدن مثلا آمازون و فلان و اینا، همون شرکت هایی که از اون برهه زمانی بر مارکت شروع کردن. برای همین خیلی ها حالا مثل کوین اعتقاد دارن که این بهترین تایمه که خیلی شرکت های بزرگ از تو این بازه زمانی خارج میشن.
Iman, I think it's time to just wrap up the questions.
Of course. Yeah. So
Do
let's
have more questions here? One more question, yes. It's about the. Can you see questions here? The one about asking how we can join Web3 with background in Web2.
Yeah. Do you think, Quinn, in your opinion, are there any special skill set that people need to have before joining Web3, or people with the Web2 gaming background can also enter Web3?
The only special skill set you need, the only special skill set you need is a passion for Web3. Outside of that, we need headcount in every single job description that there is. Web3 is starving for talent right now. I would highly recommend everyone to just dive in head first, doing personal research on Web3, upskill on it. Go read the Bitcoin Standard. It's a great book. Go Google everything that you can about the Ethereum ecosystem. Just start learning and then dive in.
Thanks. So سوالی که پرسیدیم این بود که آیا با بک‌گراند کسایی که بک‌گراند وب 2 دارن میتونن وارد وب 3 بشن و چه اسکیل ست و توانایی‌هایی نیاز دارن؟ کوین گفتش که تنها چیزی که نیاز دارن، یعنی میتونن افرادی که قطعا تجربه وب 2 دارن میتونن وارد بشن و این حوزه خیلی اتفاقا دنبال هدکاونت جدید، دنبال افرادی که جوینش بشن. خیلی یه جورایی قحطی وجود داره، قحطی نیروی کار وجود داره توی این حوزه که شرکت هایی که توی این حوزه خیلی دنبال نیروان و تنها چیزی که نیازه همون علاقه و پشن به این حوزه است. یعنی اگر شما اعتقاد واقعا و علاقه نداشته باشین به وب 3 و اینکه وب 3 قرار آینده گیمینگ باشه، کار مشکله، ولی اگر این علاقه رو داشته باشین قطعا میتونین اون توانایی‌هایی که دارین رو بیارین توی وب 3 هم استفاده بکنین.
Yeah, and the last question is that just came is also related to this, that someone is asking how you can how do you think Iranian developers can maybe work with your company, or do you think that you can yourself can help with Iranian developers who are interested in this field? I'm asking this question to be the final question, and then we can end the meeting afterward.
Awesome. I personally at Sky Mavis, we really need developers. I know we're only hiring engineers and devs in Vietnam, though, in Ho Chi Minh City. So if you're a stellar Web3 dev, if you're a blockchain engineer and you live in Ho Chi Minh City, let's connect 100%. Otherwise, if you are a dev, the strongest thing you can do right now is go learn Solidity. The entire world needs more blockchain engineers so badly. We need smart contract devs so bad. So no matter where you're based, if you can go learn Solidity quickly, you will be an extremely hot commodity in Web3.
خب گفتن که این سوال این بود که چجوری میتونن به توسعه دهنده‌های ایرانی کمک کنن، که گفتن که ما الان با فقط کسایی که بیس تو ویتنام هستن کار میکنیم، ولی اگه که وارد این حوزه بشین خیلی دیمند زیادی وجود داره. ببخشید من اومدم وسط کار تو دیگه، داشتن
یه وقت اون تمام شده.
آره ناسزا میگفتن.
من خیلی کوتاه بگم که چون اینم کوین گفت که میگه برید بخونید، اگه علاقه دارین حتما برید بخونید راجع به ایتریوم، راجع به EVMR، راجع به سولیدیتی میگه اگر یاد بگیرین یه اسکیل خیلی داغیه که خیلی براش الان دیمند توی
Guys, I just shared one Twitter account for Owl of Moistness. He is probably the greatest smart contract dev around right now. I would highly recommend anybody who's interested in learning about the space to just follow him on Twitter.
آره گفتش که یه دونه، حالا توی چت اگر بتونیم برای بچه‌ها بفرستیم، یه اکانت توییتر شرکت کنین که میگه این تقریبا الان بهترین دیولپر اسمارت کانترکت و سالیدیتیه و خیلی ازش میتونید یاد بگیرین اگر اینو توی توییتر دنبال کنید. Thanks Quinn for sharing.
Thank you, and thanks for joining us, and congrats on your, I think, recent promotion to be VP of Growth at XC Infinity. So that was an honor joining us. And Iman, thanks for joining us. I think the event become more fruitful having you here.
My pleasure. Thank you everyone. Thanks Quinn. Let's meet up soon.
For sure. Looking forward to it. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Goodbye. Bye-bye.